voices amplified. Earground.
Welcome to Earground. My name is King Boaz, and this is New Voices Amplified all the time. But today we have a queen in this business. So we're going to allow herself to introduce who she is and what she's about. I'm afraid if I'm going to try this, I might finish a paragraph or write a composition of her names and her introduction. Welcome to the show, Blackbird. And how would you introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, King Boaz? It's Queen Ruth over here. I'm kidding. Okay, yeah, Ruth and Boaz. I don't know if you know the story, but anyway, it's Blackbird, as most of you know me as. Others know me as the Bantu Queen. Others know me as Temple. But yeah, Black Bizzo in the building. What's up, Earground?
Yeah. So you're known as Blackbird. You're the Bantu Queen. You're also known as Temple. But what is your real name, the one that's registered?
Okay, my ID name is Nonkululeko Kasongo Vundla. That's me.
Right.
It's
right. Nice one. Yeah. Right. Let's talk about the dynamic I find is that you were born in Zimbabwe.
Uh-huh.
You have a South African father.
Yes.
And then you have a Zambian mom.
Yeah. That's correct.
This dynamic influence your childhood. How does this come about in your childhood?
Well, the crossbreeding, I would say, is a result of the apartheid system, in that my father was a freedom fighter and an activist. And because of, I think, June 16, 1976, there was the Soweto uprising. Yeah. So soon after that period, the apartheid police basically were tightening all the loose ends and trying to round up as many activists as possible. So at that point, that's when my father had to go into exile. So he left South Africa and went straight to Zambia, where the ANC had set up a base for the MK soldiers, Mkondo Sizwe soldiers. Right. So Zambia, that's where he met my mom, and they fell in love, got married, had kids. They had 2 kids. And then after that, Zimbabwe got independent, and my parents, being the woke people that they were, decided they were gonna move to Zim. So yeah, they packed up their kids and moved to Zim. And then 2 years later, I popped out, born and bred, H-Town, baby, queen of the city. Yeah.
All right. In your growing up, did the South African culture, the Zambian culture, and Zimbabwean culture have any influence in who you became? Did these 3 cultures ever interact within you? Did you find your father wanting you to do certain things in a certain way, your mom also coming with the side, and then you being in Zimbabwe also having a different culture altogether?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I can say my childhood was one way. There was always a conflict, because at other periods, my father would want South African culture. Obviously, he's the head of the household, and African men want their children to follow in line. So we were not allowed to speak Shona, because my father was like, why are you speaking Shona? You're not Shona children. But now, me being the kid that I am, Kumarain Ugo, Anishtora Shona, then when you just get to the crib, the tongue has to change, So my father was very adamant about instilling closer culture in us, South African culture. He used to play music from home, so we grew up listening to Hugh Masekela, Letambulu, Kefa Simenya. It's like literally we were in South Africa, but not physically, And then at the same time, my mom was obviously missing home, Zambia, so she would be playing her music from her people. So it would be like, you're hearing this one day, that the next, and depending on who's the DJ of the moment, So yeah, it was interesting. And like I remember with my mom, she used to go for meetings, Zambian ladies who were staying in Harare. They used to meet at the Zambian embassy once a month. So I used to go for that turn up, and yeah, it was a turn up and a half. I was the only kid there with all these queens. I'm like, yeah, queens know how to get down. That's all I can say. Yeah, so it's all mixed up. Sometimes there'd be clashes, but I try to just absorb everything, literally everything. Yeah.
All right, nice. Yeah, and then you moved to South Africa in 1991, and
Yeah.
apartheid was coming to an end, but apartheid never really ended because there's still some residue of apartheid to this day. So did that stay in South Africa have an impact on you, or did you see apartheid in any way firsthand and say, okay, this is not what I expected life to be? How was it for you?
Yeah, well, I didn't expect that because I grew up in Harare. I didn't grow up in Salisbury. I never experienced Rhodesia. So I was born as a free child. I was a born free, literally. So when we moved to South Africa, independence hadn't happened. So Mandela was released 91. The first election was 94. So that period in between those few years, that was when I was adjusting to life there. And it was difficult, I can tell you, to say, because I went to school with Afrikaans kids, a lot of Afrikaners, because we went to stay in the Free State in Welkom, which is predominantly Afrikaner. So I experienced another level of racism I'd never seen, because the white kids I grew up with in Zim, they kind of knew their place, you know what I mean? Now, these South African white kids, they were totally different ball game. And even the adults sometimes, the culture of the place, you'd be in a shop, you walk past some people, they're rude to you, or even some people won't even attend to you nicely. You're trying to speak to them in English, they answer in Afrikaans, and you're like, but you're a shopkeeper. You should speak to me in whatever language I want, But the racism was definitely there. I felt the impact. And during that time, there was some violence between the IFP and the ANC. So it was kind of like, it was a scary time in South African history, because the tables could, things could go anyway before elections went. And there was the right wingers. I don't know if you know Ter Blanche and them. The right wingers didn't want South Africa to go back into black hands. So there was quite a lot of violence in the air during that time. But yeah, I guess it was one of those learning experiences where you realize, wow, okay, imagine this is what I'm experiencing now. What about those who lived in the 70s and the 60s, those who lived through the real apartheid? You know what I mean? It opens your eyes to see how privileged you actually are to be born in the generation that we're in.
All right. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And then coming back to music, you grew up in a generation where cassettes were the thing. You listen to the radio. If you have a song that you think you like, once the DJ announces, you start to press and record button.
Yes.
Yeah. So which are some of the artists that you may say, these are the artists that I'll run to the radio either to listen? Because I usually tell people that when there were cassettes, what usually happened is that people watched the radio. You literally looked at the radio when the song was playing, because the idea of a television was not even there. You somehow you thought your eyes could hear because you were enjoying this thing. So which were the songs that brought life to you? Like, let me rush and report this
Oh,
over and over.
well, I think I grew up in a generation where, 90s R&B and hip hop. Like, okay, we had TV as well back then, but it was a generation where literally if you wanted music, you had to listen to the radio and dub it. And also when they now introduced music videos. So when Channel O came through, we were now using the VCR machine to record the music videos. It's like we were just been bootlegging since we was born. It's like, yeah. But I grew up listening to MC Light, The Brats, Left Eye, TLC. I'm a huge TLC fan, even up to today. SWV, Total. I think you see where I'm going with this, right? And then even like guys like Redman and Method Man, I used to enjoy those guys. Keith Murray, Warren G. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. It seems like you were drawn to hip hop. Why did hip hop pop out of everything else that you listen to? Hip hop seems to be the most dominating genre in your playlist.
My playlist. I guess probably because I was young and rebellious, and most of the hip hop artists were young and rebellious too. You know what I mean? The Brat was like the opposite of how a lady should look and behave. And I was like, yes, I relate to that because I was a tomboy as well. And I didn't like to be stereotyped or boxed, And I felt hip hop was it was expression music. It wasn't about getting the notes right. Like, R&B and soul and stuff, it's about also technical accuracy in your voice. Are you technically accurate? Whereas with hip hop, it was about the content. What are you saying? And about your attitude. No one cares if your voice is 5 decibels off or anything like that. So I felt it was real, you know what I mean? It was about the content. So yeah, I think I related to the Black Americans because that rebelliousness in me, and maybe also because, like you're saying, I grew up exposed to certain forms of racism. Apartheid maybe is very similar to the Black American reality. A lot of peeps in the States compare what they're going through to apartheid. So I could feel their pain, I could feel their anger, and I guess I clutched onto it. Yeah.
All right, nice. Yeah, and then on the local scene, which artists were you listening to, or which artists are you still listening to now?
Okay. Well, I'd say when I was growing up, I was into, well, the usuals, your Boom Shaka. I liked Yvonne Chaka Chaka. My favorite must have been Brenda Fassie. I was big on Brenda Fassie, and she was there from when I was like a tiny little person. So she really helped shaped my understanding of what a African diva is like, because she was very proud of her culture. She'd 1 minute be singing about Amadlozi, then the next weekend special party stuff. So I appreciated how she managed to create a holistic reality of an African woman. And currently, and even back in the day, I loved Thandiswa Mazwai. She's one of my favorites. She's always on my playlist. And let me think, who have I been listening to? I'm trying to think. Well, when it comes to like Zim stuff, I do listen to my fellow hip hop artists. I've got love for Junior Brown. I still play those guys because those are people who I respect, like not just in terms of they're my boys and my friends, but the music is dope. You know what I mean? I can bang it. Yeah. And right now, at the moment, Zim wise, I'm really feeling King Mataz. I don't know if you know King Mataz.
Yeah.
Yes, that youngster. Yes. I'm putting my money on that horse.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
So
right.
I,
Yeah,
I try to date with what's happening right now, but I'm a businesswoman, I'm a farmer, so I get caught up. I don't even really know what's trending half of the time. My kids have to tell me, like, Mommy, there's someone called Deja Loaf. I'm like, who's Deja Loaf? You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
bad.
yeah. With the Zim stuff, you can just keep on logged on Earground. We give you the latest and the hottest. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
As much as we do look back and try to trace where we're coming from and whatnot, we do also try to give you voices that haven't been heard before. We try and hunt for those
For that
artists who
stuff.
usually never be on radio most of the time. So we do what I hope, yeah. So
That's the beauty of the internet, though, because like right now we don't depend on radio for new music. So like some of the stuff on my playlist are people in the States, in Jamaica, who you have probably never heard of because they're not on commercial radio. But because of social media, you interact with people, you discover, this is a dope artist. Because like there's guys in the States like John Q, he's in LA, Yaya. These are people who are not commercially known, but because of social media, I've had access to new music, and I prefer what they play, what they're making to what's on the charts. You know what I mean? So I've been, exposed to so many new artists right now. Like I need to send you a list of my top 10 right now globally, and some of them people have never even heard of them. But if you actually search for the music, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on the underground. A lot.
yeah, I hope they can be. These platforms can help them be elevated. Yeah, and then we'll come back to your music. You pursued film and television, in television production. What was the highlight for you in this field?
For me, I think I've always been a storyteller. That's why I chose to be a rapper. You actually asked me why I chose rap. Rap allows me to say more than in a R&B song because I can fit 16 bars in one verse. So the storytelling process for me, I think that's what drew me to hip hop. And I think, as African people in our culture, oral tradition is one of our ways of documenting history, passing on information to the next generation. So I'm a writer, I'm a scribe, I'm a journalist, but I felt hip hop would be an appropriate way for me to even document things happening around me, the reality of life in 2011, 2012, 2013, capsulate it into a song. And yeah, I think carrying on the tradition of oral tradition. I think that's what oral tradition, the praise poets, those are the guys that I want to carry on with that legacy. And hip hop, for me, I just felt was the right tool for that type of thing.
All right. Yeah. So in terms of film and TV, have you done anything presented, produced, or
Yes, okay. On the film and TV side, it's the same thing again. It's the storytelling element. So when I went to college, basically, I've been rapping since I was in high school. But you know, there's that point where you have to decide what you're going to do at tertiary, and everybody's suggesting do this, do that, you know. So for me, I felt, okay, if I go in the direction of journalism and filmmaking, because I always used to watch movies and I'd be like, ah, they should have changed that part. You know, everyone does that when you're watching a movie, like, no, they could have written that part. Ah, that's a whack line. Then I was like, nah, let me actually go learn how this thing is done. And I can tell my stories. So the hip hop and the film kind of like just made sense together. So my first production I did when I was 19. So I was in college in South Africa at Allenby campus, which has been bought by Damlin. I understand the Damlin group bought it now. But while I was in college, I entered a competition basically that was being run by MultiChoice, and they were giving a budget to filmmakers who are in film school. So that was my first production I entered. I was one of the 20 people chosen. I got my first budget. I did a TV show. It was a talk show for teenagers. It was on Mnet. And then after that, I literally got headhunted for work. I was asked to come and work for MultiChoice from college. So I just went straight to work for them. And then after that, I basically have just been trying to do my own productions at this stage, but I've worked for ZBC. I don't know if you know, I had a hip hop show called The Hot Box. After I left Sky, I went into TV, I did some hip hop. Then when I came to Zambia, I started at radio here. And then last year I was at a TV station called Fresh TV, where I was presenting a music show, music video request show. So kind of like Was a Friday that Chile does, but it was a 5 days a week thing. So that was interesting because I've never done like live television for an hour flat. So yeah, lots of pressure, but it was fun. So yeah, I have done some TV productions. Right now I'm trying to work on some documentary stuff and see where the path takes me. But with film, you know, film is a capital intensive thing. So sometimes you have ideas and projects and stuff that, like, I've got tons of proposals of shows and stuff I want to do, but I know the capacity I have right now, it won't come out looking the way it's supposed to. So trying to pace myself.
all right, nice.
And, from the TV, expect more of the TV and film stuff as I get older, less rap, more television.
All right.
Yeah.
And then let's get into your breakthrough into the game when you started your hip hop career. You started at the top.
I started at the top, but it may sound like that.
To come up with a full length hip hop album. Went on to perform on different stages, Hi-Fi, Shoko, and stuff like that. Let's go back to Repetizer, which was your debut album, the first one. How did this come about, and did you expect it to be that big and to bring all the attention that it came up with?
Well, I did not expect that, because for me, I'm just an MC going in the studio to record my bars. You know what I mean? Rappers do that all the time. I just didn't realize that there's no chick who had consistently gone to the studio, done song after song after song, put them together, got the artwork done, started the marketing and promotion. I didn't know that at the time I was making it. So I was just recording because I'm an artist and that's what I do. So the response was great, because at the time, the first time I was initially going to release an album, I was running a studio, but I was the boss lady. So I had producers, I had artists, and it was a time where, 100% local content had just been introduced. So I came back from South Africa, I set up a studio in the avenues and had all kinds of producers that were working there, all kinds of artists. And this was like a hub of where artists used to meet. So I never had the time to do my own thing. So it only happened that like 5 years later, after going to South Africa, coming back again, I linked up with the guys at Mix Masters, Shaza and DJ Tricks. And we were all staying in the avenues. So they were in the neighborhood. I was told, oh, there's a studio in the hood, And then at the same time, Book Cafe were doing Sisters Open Mic. And there was, I think it was Magamba had a thing what is it? Mashoko. Mashoko was once a month. Sisters open mic once a month, and Shazer and Tricks in the Hood. So it's like the timing was just right, and I just got into the swing of things. Then I found out about the Circle. The Circle was like the dopest hip hop sci-fi at the time, and so I just made sure I was on stage, literally on stage all the time. So I think by the time the album came out, the streets knew enough about me because of my visibility in terms of live performance. I was already known for delivering on stage. So when the album came out, it was just natural. People already knew some of the songs because I used to perform them. So yeah, the response, I didn't expect it, to be honest. I didn't.
Alright. Yeah. On Reptiles, the themes in Reptiles, did you plan? Were you intentional to say these are the themes that I want to address in this debut album, or you just like you went to the
No,
studio and then whatever came through?
it was planned because Shazer, if you know Shazer, he's won a lot of awards. Big up to Shazer. Shazer is not a joker, you know? And I was blessed that on my first project, I was given a professional producer, not a beat maker. Because a lot of guys say they're producers, but they're not. They just know how to make dope beats. Now with Shazer, we sat down, we planned. He asked me what do I want to achieve. He asked me, you know, what are the issues you want to tackle? So we started now going through the list of songs. Some I had written lyrics for, but they had no beat. And others we wrote from scratch together, but we had beats we got from other guys as well. But it was a planned, structured thing. I knew I want to do 1 or 2 love songs. I knew I needed something for the single mothers. I knew I needed one to vent about Black men and relationships. So we discussed it beforehand. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So how did this album, the attention that came with the album, being on stage at Haifa as one of the first female hip hop rappers to be on that platform, and as big as it was back then, how did it help elevate your brand?
Oh, it definitely took my brand to a new level because now I've been taken seriously by corporate people, by CEOs, and by, you know, even people who are in ministerial positions, government officials. I was now not just a dope MC who the streets know. People who matter pay attention to the Haifa lineup. So the minute you're on the Haifa lineup, they now recognize you like you suddenly matter, you know. It's kind of like a messed up way people operate in Zim, but you need to qualify by performing at certain events and then they notice you. So it helped, and it was a good, what can I say, a training ground. And I'm very grateful to Haifa, Melody, and the team at Haifa, you know, because they put me on Haifa twice. And, you know, just knowing that you have the whole stage to yourself for 1 hour or 45 minutes, quality equipment, quality lighting, it really forces you to perform and makes you serious as well about your grind, you know. So I think that training ground was great for me. And the same with Book Cafe, like the work that Penny Yon was doing, Penny, Batsy, Rudo, Ian, that whole gang. I can't even express it in words because that is training you will never get anywhere else. Like right now, where do artists go to learn stagecraft? Where do you learn how to play with a band? There's nobody who's offering that. So the Book Cafe was such an important initiative for so many artists, not just me. You know, we can look from Chuoniso, Hope, Mukomba, the list is endless. Victor Kunonga, there's so many of us, Alexio, so many people went through that Book Cafe portal, you know. So yeah, I would like to take this time to actually appreciate those guys who worked, even those who were working behind the scenes, because there were so many people, the people sweeping, cleaning, the waiters, they made it pop, you know. You actually got to perform in a professional venue at no cost. I launched my album at Book Cafe at no cost for venue. They helped with the marketing. It was great. It was great. And I hope something like that comes again in Zim. We've been talking with one of my friends about possibly setting up an art center that was similar to how Book Cafe was run, because she used to work there, so she knows the innings about it. And I'm an artist and I know how necessary it is.
Nice. Yeah, we hope that something like Book Cafe comes back. I remember also I met many artists at Book Cafe, or I saw many artists for the first time at Book Cafe when they were still trying to find their way, trying to find their voice, and they're big artists now. It's all through Book Cafe. So we hope that your initiative comes through. Yeah. And then what are the challenges as a female artist that you might have faced working with all the people that you're working with, and also at the same time with the spotlight, because some of the times the spotlight is very expensive. When you become visible, it doesn't only come with the positives. There are also negative things that come with that. So what are the challenges that you faced as a female artist?
Okay, well, in terms of the challenges, I guess across the board, artists in Zim always struggle with finance, a budget to make things happen. So I was always operating on a zero budget and sometimes a minus budget because I'm a single mom. I have 2 children to feed. So for me, I have to always calculate carefully to say, how much am I putting into this music thing? And is it eating into my family? Because for me, my kids are the number one priority, not the hip hop. So financial challenges, making it happen. I've always had to hustle, but I always thought, you know what, you're better off making small steps. Even if you drop an album, you don't have a huge launch party, but it's a product in your catalog that has already been released. Zimura have it, you've copywritten the project. Who knows? Maybe that's gonna give me money through samples in the future, you know. So I've just always tried to find a way to make sure I'm constantly releasing, even if I don't do a big splash about the release. I make material, I file it with my copyright associations, because for me, that is how I invest in my future, by making music and, you know, protecting it. And then, you know, other challenges would be just even the logistics of being a musician as a woman. Like in the Zim context, you know, sometimes I'll be back from a gig, kuma 2, 3 in the morning. And like, you know, I used to stay by flats. Saka kuma flats uko, you know, people will be hearing, times anopinda manheru futi anenge ari kupi chichi, you know, too much yada yada yap in the community because they don't know what you do. And then sometimes like boys will come by the flat, you know how it is, my niggas will all roll up and there'll be a car with like 8 different dudes. I'm the only chick. And they don't know. These are my workmates. These are my niggas, you know. So there's a Zimbabwean society has a very negative impression of female musicians. I don't know who told them that or which generation of female musicians they know of, but they think female musicians are loose, they're not serious, you know, drunkards, my drug addicts. And I'm a businesswoman, so I could never relate with all that because I'm about my grind and about feeding my kids. I rap to feed my children. I don't care about fame because it doesn't pay my bills being famous, you know. So it's about the grind. Yeah. So the perceptions of people. And then those are some of the negatives, like you're saying. There's the good side and there's the bad side. And that's one of the negative things. People think they know me because I'm a female rapper. Some guys will think that they can hit me up or send me stupid messages and think, she's a down ass chick. What? She'll like, no, I'm an African woman. Saka, some people perceive me wrong because I rap, but I'm a Black woman and I expect the respect you would give to your mainini at home, you know. So that's one of the big challenges. And obviously working with men in the industry has its challenges because they're always trying to get with you. You know what I mean? It's rare to work with professional guys. Guys are always going to be guys. You know what I mean? They're always going to try. So it's like when I go into a scenario, whether it's a studio setup or whatever, I just watch and see, okay, I'll just be waiting to see who are the professionals and who's going to just try his luck. And inevitably, they're always the ones who try their luck. But I just let them down easy. You know, I'm a big sister to these guys, so I just have to be, you know, chilled about. I don't do drama. Like, how did you see that? No. I understand. They're young guys. I'm an attractive female. They're gonna try, you know. Yeah. But that's one of the challenges because sometimes you don't want that. Like there's scenarios where you're trying to have a very important meeting, an important transaction, or someone is saying they want to manage me. I'm excited thinking this is a real promoter or a real manager, only to find out niggas only after one thing, and if you're not giving it up, he starts slacking and stuff. So you just have to cut them off. Like I'm very good at cutting off people when I see you're not interested in the music, because that is the primary thing you came into my life for. If you want to hook up with me for hooking up with me, don't choose the music. So it's a challenge when you're a woman. You have to always put that line to show that, look, this is the professional side of things. If you want to get with me in any other context, hit me up on another day. Right now in Desribasa. Yeah. Yeah.
So have you ever missed an opportunity for the simple reason that you're female?
Oh, I have missed many opportunities. I have missed many opportunities because I'm female, one, because I'm a mother, because on other situations, like I can't just pack up and go off to Kariba for a week just like some random chick. I have a family, I have to prepare, I have to plan. And so I don't always, take up shows where I'm told last minute because I don't have someone to stay near. And back then the kids were small. Now they're grown. I can go and leave them alone. But I've had to turn down events and I've turned down contracts because I could see, okay, this guy is not interested in business. He's going to put pressure on me. Sometimes the opportunity is so great and you want the budget, you want the money and everything, but you can already see, good, this is a sick Bali. As time goes, so you just let it slide. And then I've seen some of my other chicks getting signed, like some of my homegirls, a lot of the urban groove chicks, R&B chicks, they'd be getting signed by these Madara, these H-Town Balis, my chef who have money, but they're always interested in managing us young girls. And it's always like, why can't you find a man to manage? Go find a brother out there who needs support in the business. These Balis always want young, fresh chicks. So I've turned down a lot. Yeah. That's why I'm still hustling and still grinding. By now, probably I would be an international name. Like I'd be known all over the world if I had taken up some of these opportunities. But I've had to say no to certain labels who've tried to change me. They've told me I wear too much clothing. I have to be more provocative. I have to sing more about sex, and I've had to turn down deals because they've said to me, look, we want to work with you. You're dope. But these are things we need to change. And for me, those were things where in my principles, I couldn't.
All right, yeah. And then we go back to, I think it's 2014 when you released, which I think is one of the biggest singles, one of the biggest songs, Waiting for Love. Yeah. What was the formula? Why did this particular song have this breakthrough and enjoy the attention, the love that it got?
Well, I think, to be honest, I found everybody has got love issues. Everybody has relationship issues. So I wanted to be that hardcore rapper chick who was talking about gangster things, what. But then on that song, I was going through a period in my life where I just needed to vent. It was more of a diary entry. Like I was talking about my personal stuff and mixing it up with some fantasy stuff. And it's similar with the song Boaz, which then I did 2 years ago. Boaz again, I tapped into my personal side and I found people respond well to that because relationships are hard, man. I think that is the reason. Relationships are hard and it's tough, whether you're in a relationship or whether you're single, you have relationship issues. Everybody's got relationship issues. So I think that was the formula. I didn't even really know it was going to be that successful, but only after, and when we did the song, I worked with Amo. I don't know if you know Amo. He's from Malawi, but based in Zim.
Yes, I know
when we hooked up, we didn't really know what we were working on, but he was just like, you're dope. I need to produce for you. And I'm like, your beats are dope. What are we going to do? And that was the song that came out. And we never worked together again. Unfortunately, we haven't done anything else. It was just that one song, but it just lit the streets on fire.
Yeah, it was a big song. It was a big song. Yeah. Then you have several singles, albums, and mixtapes. Maybe if we can talk about Prayer for Somalia, because we cannot go through all your catalog. Is too big to try and understand each and everything. Prayer for Somalia. What was the inspiration? What was happening in that particular track?
Okay, well, at that point in time, I think we all know Somalia, Ethiopia, those places have always been in the news since we were kids, especially Somalia. So at that period, the situation in Somalia was really bad. And I think there were like 250,000 children who were going to die of hunger within the next 3 months. And when I heard that in the headlines, I couldn't comprehend and fathom, like that's 250,000 children dead because there's no food. It didn't make sense to me. And as a mother, I know what it's like, when, like me, I get stressed when there's no milk in the fridge. There's no milk, there's no cheese, there's no ham. And those are luxuries. That's not even essentials. So I know what it's like when you're a mother. You want the best for your children. Now, what more if you're a mother who can't even give your child the basics? There's no mealy milk, there's no sugar, there's nothing. I couldn't understand it, it blew me away. And that's how that song came out. I needed to express my emotion because I felt so sad. And it still breaks my heart when I think about the situation that the children and the mothers, especially like the kids, yes, but as a parent, I could understand that pain. Like, you're powerless to do anything for your child. And the thing is, the Horn of Africa is still experiencing war. Sudan is another hot spot. We find that these areas, they're in the news for some time and then people brush over it. We've got other headlines that are more popping, you know what I mean? But these things are still happening up to now. There's still war and there's still children who are dying. And yeah, that song was just my way of saying, I don't have money like Angelina Jolie. I don't have a foundation where I can go and physically feed these kids, but this is my part in it. This is my part. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And in most of your songs, there is, I sense there is an element of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you can delve into what informs your spirituality, what is your position on spirituality, and does this come deliberate, or you find yourselves just writing these things out of creativity, or this is something that you deliberately pursue?
Well, there was a time I didn't want to deliberately show that I'm a spiritual person because I thought I would come out like as uncool or preachy type thing. You know how it is, like peer pressure. I didn't want to be perceived as bird is whatever. But it just would come out sometimes, like when I was writing Waiting for Love. It was meant to just be a love song. But I found I started talking about God and his role in the relationship and, how I want the relationship to be based on the word. It came out by accident. Then Boaz as well. Boaz started as a love song, but I think if you listen, you'll hear it's more of like a sermon or something, a romantic sermon to a brother, So it's like, I really don't go out of my way, but it's a part of who I am. I've accepted it's a part of my identity. People are just going to have to accept that, this is who she is. She's an MC, but I'm a very deeply spiritual person. I used to be very active in the church when I was a teenager. So I grew up in the church. My parents were Baptist. I grew up Central Baptist in Harare. Then I moved to Faith Ministries, and Faith Ministries is still doing very well under Shingi Munyeza, but I'm not a member of that church anymore. I can't say I'm a member of any church at this moment in time because I'm in a different space in my spiritual journey. I'm trying to develop my walk with God, like on a one-on-one. I can attend church here and there, but I didn't want to get caught up in church politics. So I prefer to have my spiritual relationship directly with my creator, Now and then I go and fellowship with other people, but I prefer to even get my teaching straight off YouTube, you know what I mean? Because I can go straight and say, okay, today I feel like TD Jakes has a word for me. Bam, I put TD Jakes on. Or I feel like I'm looking for Tudo Bismarck word today. So the beauty of the internet is really you can build your spirituality in your own terms. And that's what I'm doing, I guess. But then I did that album Introducing Temple, as you know. And when I did introduce the temple, that was me basically coming out of the closet. Like, hey, I love God. What you saying? And yeah, I love Yahweh and Yeshua. I try my best to even educate my children on accuracy in terms of biblical information because we've been lied to about so many things. We don't celebrate Christmas. And my kids are cool with it because even they know that it's fake. You know what I mean? A lot of these things that are tradition in the church, I've tried to break away from that. So doing Introducing Temple was my way of giving a spiritual offering. It's not a gospel album in the, usual context. I was just saying, this is my relationship with God and I'm putting it down in song form.
All right, nice. I hope that we'll get maybe time to discuss those things, maybe in a debate of some sort with the angle that you're coming up with. But moving on, there are issues that you raise, many issues on blacks and women. And my question is, what went wrong? What went wrong in the black community? What is it that we're trying to correct? Or what is it that you're trying to correct? Or what is it that we're supposed to correct in terms of the post that you put across, everything that you put across to try and use your platform as much as you can to try and talk about these things. Also on women, what is the problem? Where is the issue? What should we do as men? Or what should women do? What is it that we can do collectively to try and balance the scale? Yeah.
I think, we need to go back to the original blueprint of what the man's role is, what a woman's role is. Because right now I see in society we're caught in a tug of war between men and women. And one of the reasons I don't support feminism is because feminism comes with that overhanging theory that women and men are, I hate to say this, they say men and women are equal, but we're not equal. I hate to say this. Some people will say that it's contradictory to, whatever, but I believe that we are created for different purposes, so we cannot be equal. The way I function, my capacity and your capacity, I have the ability to feed a child from my body parts. You don't. So you are not equal to me. You never will be. And I cannot be equal to you because there are things you can do which I can't. So I think as a society as a whole, we need to go back to say, okay, who are you as a woman? Appreciate, celebrate that. Who are you as a man? I celebrate and appreciate that. And we stop trying to compete. We stop trying to, I've seen too much tug of war, power struggle between the male and the female in society. So my issue is that as Black people, we already knew our roles traditionally. We knew like I have issues with chicks who don't like cooking and who don't want to clean the house and stuff like that. Because I mean, if you're not going to do it, who are you waiting to do it for your children? Your husband. Like, really? Does that make sense? So if he's not there and if he dies, your children are going to starve. It just doesn't make sense. Some of these roles were created that way for a reason. Women are meant to be caregivers, and we're meant to be the nurturers. We're meant to be the ones who make sure the children and the family are intact, while men are meant to be providers. These days, a lot of guys would rather leech off a chick who's got her thing going on, you know what I mean? And all these imbalances are because things are skewed. Maybe this guy grew up in a house with a domineering mother who was extremely masculine in how she did things. So he's been emasculated. So he's gonna want a woman to look after him in every relationship. So we can't always blame these guys and be like, abo bente and what. No, some of them were raised to be just looked after, So that for me is we need to go back to basics, and we can find a way to reestablish a society where men and women work together to improve the society. Right now, half the time we're just competing against each other. And who loses? It's the kids, because kids are raised confused. Kids don't know what a role of a man is when he grows up. You don't know what your role is as a woman. So now you're in the house, you're in a marriage, you don't know how to conduct yourself because you never had enough real life examples of how men and women engage.
All right, nice. Yeah. And then I also asked the question on Blacks.
Okay, as Black people, that's what I was saying, like we have our own cultural structures. So we have now turned too much to Western culture. Things like feminism, those are concepts that were created by white women. So we now as Black women want to adopt those things, and those things, they don't work for us. They don't work for us. Trying to fight your husband for equal rights in the house is the dumbest thing any Black woman is gonna do. Trying to create a duty roster for washing plates. Like I've been to houses where that type of stuff is there, and I'm like for real, duty roster, okay, sharp, But it's because we are trying so hard to emulate how white people do things. And that's where the problem is. Let's do things our way. If they want to do their equal rights division of labor thingy, where he breastfeeds some days, I breastfeed other days, as if that's even possible. But white people would split everything 50-50 down the line if they could, And even physically, I know they're doing all these experiments where they're trying to see if men will be able to have pregnancies, if men can then be able to breastfeed and develop, milk ducts and start breastfeeding children. They're just coming up with the craziest things. So us as Black people really need to stay focused and know who we are, what we're about, and the things that our grandmothers and grandfathers taught us. Those things will never be outdated. Yes, there are some African traditions which are harmful. We can discard those. But the basics of how you engage as a mother, a wife, a husband, a son, our children, we need to teach them these things or else they'll be lost. The future generation is going to be totally lost. Men will be the ones having babies and chicks will be going to work because that's already happening in a lot of homes.
Okay. On the African culture, is there a way that we can maybe document or keep these things? Because I am afraid that we do not have probably a source that you can turn to at this point in time to say, I want this for my kid. I want to find out how it was done. If I go to my father, he's probably also have an element of cross-cultural influence. There isn't the purity of Africanness. Where do we then go back to that Africanness?
I think that's where we now need to start establishing institutions where we document these things. We need archives because yes, our ancestors used to document stuff on rock, so the Bushmen would write on rock paintings or whatever, and we have oral tradition. But now we need to start gathering this information, whether it's transcribed and typed up, whether it's done as video in documentary form, audio recordings. It's up to this generation of intellectuals to figure out how to establish such institutions, because we're very educated, but we're not really now thinking about issues like you're saying. How are we documenting the stuff? Because our elders are going to pass away, our grandparents are going to be gone soon, and our great grandkids are going to need that information. And now technology actually allows for us to garnish all this information and put it together. So yeah, it's a challenge that I feel myself as well. Like I've been saying, I'm going to write a book for a minute, and these are the things we need to start writing books, documenting stories we've been told by our grandparents, our parents. That stuff is so important, because like, okay, right now I've done one book, but it's for artists. I wrote a book about how to make your brand visible as an artist. So it's a training manual. But these historical books, they are essential. And we have to start actually putting books, documentaries, and audio archives together.
All right. Yeah. Well, we will find time and try to work on those things, because if we are to preserve ourselves as a race, we will need to have those things written somewhere.
Yeah.
It will be hard to convince our kids through word of mouth, because they will come with books, they will come with references and say,
References, you
yeah,
see.
whoever
And
said this, I can quote chapter whatever of what not document. And if we don't have that, I'm afraid we might find that it will slip away and wake up without anything to talk about at the end of the day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And now
agree.
coming to the Zimbabwean music industry, how did it treat you, and do you think it can be fixed? Whatever it is that we're doing as an art industry, do we think these are things that we can fix? Whose responsibility is it, and what can we do now to try? And I know we have the economic problem, and most of the times when I engage people, it's kind of the least of the problems. There are bigger issues that could still line up even with all the upset.
Definitely, like, was always a conflict. Well, I think the biggest issue that's there is that of unity, like people working together, cross collaborations across cities, across record labels. There's too much of this clique mentality in the music business. And I found, like, especially in the hip hop scene, we really need to work together, because we have Zim Dancehall, who we are trying to go up against. We've got Museve, and those Zim Dancehall guys work together. I think you've seen how they get one rhythm and they all jump on the rhythm. They support each other at shows and stuff. Now with hip hop guys, when I was coming up, I don't know, maybe now things have changed, but from how I see it, there's still the beefs and the usual, tug of war. So it's good to have competition, but is it bringing money to the table? That's my question. And maybe we should try another approach to say, maybe if we work together, feature each other more often. Like I've had guys in the industry where I'd ask them to be like, yo, guys, can we do a song together? Then they're like, I charge $100 a verse or something like that. And I'm like, yo, nigga, do you know who I am? Don't black bitch, Kanye. You should be honored that I even want to work with you, So some people are not understanding that there's strategic partnerships that need to be built. They're too desperate or too pompous. I don't know, but they just want money. We need to move past that. We need to think, how are we building the industry, setting it up so that all our record labels are viable business entities? Because most labels in Zim are just bedroom studios. They shouldn't even call themselves record labels, because they can't offer an artist anything. Like some people have said, no, we can sign you, but what are you going to offer me? Because I can pay for my own videos, I can pay for my own studio time, I pay for my own album launches. They have nothing to offer. And that's why I'm saying, let's work together, guys. We build the industry. We show these guys that as a hip hop entity, we actually have power. And I actually tried to set up the Zim Hip Hop Association. I don't know if you ever heard about it. And during the years that it was functional, while I was in Zim, I had a lot of young people who were behind it. But the seniors disappointed me, because a lot of these guys feel they're too famous or they're too big to be part of an association, or they think maybe Bird anoita mbiri nezita rangu. Like, I don't need no nigga to get famous in Zim. You know what I mean? I have my own brand. What I was trying to do was set up an institution where we, as the older guys in the game, we help the youngsters, teach them, groom them, mentor them, so that in 10 years' time, Zim hip hop is the foreign currency generator. We're not looked down on because we actually make money for the country. But people couldn't understand the vision. So for me, I'll still go back to the issue of unity in music in general, but particularly within the hip hop fraternity. We need to start working with each other and stop looking at each other as the competition, or I'm trying to ride your wave or whatever, because at the end of the day, I have an audience, the next guy has an audience, the next guy has an audience. What if we pull our fan base together and we start marketing one project at a time? So when I drop an album, all three of us push that album. When the next guy drops an album, all three of us push that album. You know, that's what I think will change the game.
Oh, all right, nice. I hope someone is taking notes right there. And then coming to the conclusion, what are you working on in Zambia at the moment, and what is the future of Blackbird, the Bantu Queen, and Temple? Because all of those, all of those three names that you go by, and for different things that you do.
Okay, well, I'll start with Blackbird and Temple. Those are musicians, and well, I think with Temple, I will release as and when I feel the need. I'm not into doing gospel as a profession because I do not believe in using the word to feed my family. The word is to feed people's spirits. So I'm not against gospel musicians, don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing anyone who's trying to get a paycheck off gospel music. I personally don't feel that I'm called to that. So whenever I feel the need to do so the album Introducing Temple, it never even really got much support from radio. It didn't get much, push from the newspapers. Personally, I think it's because I'm not like affiliated with a big gospel record label, because there are certain gospel acts in Zim where if they go to radio, it's standard. Now, me, I'm coming from another side and I'm not signed to any label. It was kind of tricky, but I still have to make sure the music is available to people. So Introducing Temple, people can find that online. I actually had uploaded a few singles, but I'm going to put the whole project up for free on my Audio Mac account. Those who are into gospel hip hop, you need to peep that. And as for Blackbird, well, Blackbird celebrates 10 years of being on the game, like professionally in the game. So October 2020 will be 10 years since I released the Rappetizer. So we're going to be releasing a deluxe album, Rappetizer. So it's going to be the same album, but with some new tracks on it. For those who are not around 10 years ago or who didn't even know what I'm doing back then, some people were in primary school. So I'm re-releasing it as a deluxe album with some remixes that you've never heard before. And then I'm going to be doing an album called 10 Years, which I'm hoping to drop in December. 10 years is a celebration of 10 years in the game and my experiences in the music business, and a celebration that I'm still standing. Like after 10 years, a lot of girls I know have fallen off. Even guys have fallen off. They had to get desk jobs, The music was not sustaining anybody's families and people had to drop out the game. So I'm proud of myself. Like 10 years and I'm still in it. I just dropped the Bantu Queen album. Look for that online. It's on iTunes, everywhere, Spotify, wherever. And also on my Audio Mac for those who don't have the money to buy it. It's still free for my peeps. But the Bantu Queen album for me just reminded me that, I still got it, man. I still got it 10 years later. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to dropping the 10 years album because I'm expecting I've got some bangers that I'm working on right now.
All right, yeah. Before I let you go, maybe if you can.
Another question. Sorry, you asked about the Bantu Queen as well. So
Yeah.
the future for the Bantu Queen is I'm gonna be establishing a media business, a media network, Bantu Media Network, which will entail Bantu Radio and Bantu TV. And Bantu Radio actually went online yesterday. I now have my own radio station. So find the link on social media. So we're doing the test phase for the next week or two, and then I'm officially launching the station in August. And all the artists get in touch. You know me, I've always been about putting other people on. From when I was on radio to when I was on TV, I love to promote other artists because I feel there's enough fame to go around, you know what I mean? So let's share the damn spotlight. Why not? So That's what you can look out for. Bantu Radio is going to be popping off over the next few months. It's not just Zimbabwean music, it's a Pan-African radio station. So I have music from people in the States, Jamaica, Europe, other African countries. Most of these artists are on the underground. So it's nice that I get to expose people to music that they've never heard before.
All right, nice. We'll be looking out for the Bantu Radio to see and hear all those new voices all over the world. Yeah. So before I let you go, Bantu Queen, may you bless us with just 16 bars, or maybe of one of your tracks, or your hook that is itching like I need people to hear this. Maybe if you can give us that, whether it's from an old song or it's from something that's coming up, it's up to you.
Okay, let me drop you guys something from my last album, which I released in April. The Bantu Queen album is still new, and there's a song on it called Queen. So I said, never underestimate the power of I. You'd be living a lie, cause I'm destined to fly. You see, my blood is a concoction of energies, tribal art, rebellies. Definition of self is like heavenly, sent from above to enact his will. But with life in this flesh, I gotta dodge these thrills. You see, the trap of the world is to put you in a box. Hate the way I get misjudged just because of my locks. Abantu bayangitshela ukuthi mina ngibe so. Wayongena indaba zami yangihlali next door. Was running around in circles, trying to find my purpose, overstand his master plan in the palm of his hand. They call me queen, some call me Rasta, they call me empress, some call me Jah lady. It don't matter the name, still the queen of the game. Yeah, it runs in my veins. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that was the Bantu Queen, Blackbird Temple on Earground. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you, Boaz. I'll make sure I make Boaz part 2. Then you can be in the video.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
All right, sure.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
so much. This was Earground and that was Bantu Queen. Until next time, cheers.